Hi, you see again, Dimas, and I'm the Queen of African Culture, and today I am with a renowned journalist with so much experience. So I will allow him to introduce himself for us today. Then move on with what we have today. So, sir, good afternoon, sir.
A pleasure.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, thank God.
Okay. Please, can you introduce yourself to my camera?
Yes, I'm Ike Abon. Like you said, I'm a journalist. I don't know about veteran, but I'm a journalist. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for having me today on my channel today. Okay. So we'll start this conversation from the basics of our interview. So as a renowned journalist, with so much experience, when we talk of experience, words of experience. So in your honest view, why did they remove teaching of history in our academic curriculum? Could it be that the teaching of the history in school, in our institutions, was the reason why we had division and tribalism that we witness today?
No, it's not the reason. Actually, nobody has given us reason for removing it, but development of technology is responsible for that, and the political situation. If you watch what has been going on since democracy, you will notice that most of our political leaders will not want their past to be known by their children and their grandchildren. It's all about history. In our days, we learned history to know more about heroes so that we will try to imitate them. But in today's world, nobody is anxious to know about what their father did because their father did not represent them well. So nobody will be anxious for history. You learn history, you learn about big heroes in West Africa and all the countries in Igbo land. If you come to Obollo, you want to know about the fight Obollo did to survive. A lot of people don't know. They go to Afor today, they don't know how Afor came to be. It's history that will tell people of your age that this Obollo-Afor was, for it to be a big market like this, was a fight. For Obollo-Afor and Oba to exist as a market was a fight. The children of tomorrow will not know how it came to be. They will just come and meet one big market in their town. But history is important because you will know where you're coming from. Even in medical field, when you are sick, if you are suffering diabetes or any of these ailments, the first thing doctor will want to know is the history of that ailment, where you're coming from. That will guide in advising you on how to manage it. So history is important for development. But for whatever reason, when social studies came, they felt they could break it down without going into details, and they now break it down, you just learn small things and without going into details about history. But it's becoming clear to us that we need history. Part of also why history suffered is because the Englishman who laid foundation for a nation, who partitioned Africa, and African nations are subject to them. As development is growing, they don't want children to go back and know what happened, because that could bring hatred. It's just like we go to America today, you want to learn about slavery. They want, if they can have their way, they want to wipe everything about slavery in America, because the more you tell a child of 20 years that the great-grandfather was bundled here as a slave, the more he starts hating the white man he's seeing. So for that is part of why history. A lot of people want history to go down because of atrocities of the past. But what is helping it in our country is that our politicians, our leaders are not doing well. They don't want the past to be remembered. You see how they are contradicting themselves. So history is important because history is good for development. It helps to mold us. We know where we made mistake, where we can take correction. But it has been going on, and I think the process of bringing it back or adjusting it, because it's not clear to them that we need to know where we're coming from to guide our moving forward. Thank you.
If I may ask now, do you feel bringing it back will be the best thing or not?
Yes. Well, just like I said, bringing it back is very, very necessary. You need to know where you're coming from. You need to, if you are from a place, you need to know your background so that you can guide you. I just use the medical instance as an example. If you don't know your background, you know where you're coming from. How did we come to be Obollo? How did they come to be Soka? How did they come to be Igbos? A lot of people, all those things, if you don't know it, you cannot guide you very well. Because if you know your history and know the history of a Yoruba man, you now know why Yorubas are behaving the way they're behaving and Igbos are behaving why they're behaving. You know why the North are what they are. How is only history that will tell you why Usman Dafodo started a jihad of taking Quran to the ocean and stopped midway. It's history that will tell you that the thieves through Joseph Tak and all that fought to stop the jihad from getting. If they are not fought, maybe the fight will have been in Igbo land and it will stop. And if they are succeeded in bulldozing everybody, all of us will have been Muslims today. It's only history that will teach you that. If history is not there, you only know that some people are Muslims, some are Christians. The person who is a Muslim in the north is a Muslim because he was born in Kano. If I was born in Kano, I would be a Muslim. If a Fulani man was born here, he would be a Christian. But with history, without history, you won't know some of those things. We hear about Hausa Fulani, The Fulanis are less than 30% of the population of the north. But you hear Fulani because they are more political aware. They control the politics of the political leadership. But it's only history that will tell you that there were indigenes before the Fulanis came. And those indigenes are majority in number, but they may not be in a commanding position. And because they are not in commanding position, they are the victims of the political system. Because the Fulanis came with Islam and created emirates in all the places. So the few places that resisted emirates, like Benue and Plateau, you see they're still fighting. And that fight is a continuation of. An average person in Benue will understand why the fight is going on, unless he reads history. When he sees history, he will know why the fight is going on. Because they're still angry. Why did half of Yorubas Muslim? Why are half Christians? Because as they were coming through this way, they were going through the west, and they reached Obollo-Afor or Oyo and stopped there. That's why you see a lot of Yorubas in Ilorin, where they pass through, are all Muslims. But how would you know this if you don't read history? And how can you relate very well with your neighbor if you don't read history? If you don't know somebody, you won't understand. When we were coming here, people were discussing about somebody with this, it is not strong, he drink this. It's because you know background that is why you can relate with him. Otherwise, if you don't have his background, you won't be able to relate with him. You just start reacting and bring yourself to his level, and a lot of mistakes will have been done. So history is important, and I prescribe that you should come back.
So, as a renowned journalist, can you tell us the history of Nigeria from before the Civil War and after before and after?
Thank you. Nigerian history is a mixed bag because the much a lot of people can remember is that we had our independence in 1960, and we progressed from 1960 to Civil War. Then after Civil War to military rules and so many other issues. But the real foundation of Nigeria as a nation started in 1914, when the southern and the northern protectorates were amalgamated to become one unit called Nigeria. It's that Nigeria that became an independent nation in 1960. And the foundation of that 1914 is actually part of the challenges Nigeria is facing today. Because the North, as we know it today, and the South, as we know it today, decide to come together and become a nation. Whether it was at their own will is a different story. But the colonial masters then, the British, designed it for themselves that this unit will be a country, and they designed it not necessarily that the people were contacted. So the history of Nigeria is actually something you can say started in 1914. But as an independent nation, we started in 1960. That's 1960 to 66, 67. The civil rule was disrupted. After the disruption of the civil rule, we had unfortunate 30-month civil war. After the civil war in 1970, we continued with military rule up to 1979. The military handed over to civilian. The democratic process, we now left the parliamentary system we started at independence. In 1979, we entered the presidential system. This presidential system started exactly October 1st, 1979, and lasted just for 4 years. Because after the first term of Alhaji Shehu Shagari as the president, the military came back again, overthrew the government December 1983, and we started another military journey from 1983, almost 30 years, before we now return to democracy fully in 1999. And since 1999, we have been enjoying uninterrupted democracy. Democracy in the sense that it's a civil rule, but whether we are observing the rules of democracy is another thing, but it's a civil rule. That's the one we can guarantee, but whether it's a democracy is open for debate. So that's where we are now. We are 26 years uninterrupted democracy or civil rule. And that's the situation in the country now. And the democracy we have with the current president, Obollo-Ahmed Tinubu, is in his 2 years. And Nigeria has been following the fluctuation of democracy and the zoning system that has worked since 1999. It was disrupted in 2010 when a sitting president died in office and the vice president had to take over. This vice president had to rule for 5 years before we return to the zoning system again. And the system is what we are still observing. The northern president just finished 8 years and handed over to a southern president who has been there for 2 years now, and is hoping that he will be there till 2027. If he's re-elected, he will be there till 2031. I think that's it.
So now, how can we use history, culture, and tradition to unite our people? Like, since history is our past, and we can use that history to reshape and strategize our future.
Yes, in fact, there's nothing more important in uniting and harmonizing our people than culture. It's very, very important, because intertribal marriage is a culture. You are an Igbo person, you've gone to North to marry, you've gone to Yoruba land to marry. It brings a little of their culture. You take a little of your own culture. From that, you are mixing up. Your culture is not suffering. It's not swallowing your culture, but you are now assimilating their own, and they are also taking part of your own. You watch in the social media how Igbos are developing their culture, even in Europe, Canada, and all that. Even recently, there has been controversy in Ghana over one Igbo trying to create a kingdom and all that. That is defending Igbos everywhere you find them. They are there defending their culture. It's a culture that is bringing them. In fact, there is no identity stronger than culture, because your name is cultural. It tells where you're coming from. If you are Ifeanyi, once you say your name is Ifeanyi, somebody can start speaking Igbo to you. You may not be able to speak Igbo, but they will start speaking Igbo to you. If somebody is Olu, you automatically know it's a Yoruba. If somebody is Musa, so it's culture. Culture is a very big strength of development, and it helps. It's also a measure of discipline, because part of what is going on, like the struggle for culture in Igbo land to survive, is also part of it. But we are mixing it up. We are mixing it up. Young people, you see, until we find a demarcation between cultural support and diabolic issues, if we don't find a meeting point in it, culture will continue to suffer in the hands of Christianity. Because what is happening, young people, they say young people are going back to, they are saying they are defending their culture, but in real sense of it, what they are doing is diabolism. They are going back to rituals, to all those diabolical things. And that is where you see some of us disagreeing with them. As an Obollo person, as a Christian, I like to see Akatakwa. I grew up in this village. All my schooling took place here. But on one side, it's a big celebration for us. Everybody enjoys it. You understand? But I also know that there are some negatives around it. I know a lot of families that has a connection with this Akatakwa. They are not finding it easy because of what is involved. What is involved is something that is ritual that they cannot trace. And if you are not able to trace it, you don't know the commitment of your parents, what they did on it. You come and carry it. You just see that wearing a Akatakwa, go and wear a Akatakwa. There is not just as easy as that. So culture is very big way of creating harmony. But we must find a way of harmonizing it with Christianity. Christianity is dominant, yes. Is Western, yes. But they came with their positive. Each time I see anybody of my age or in their 20s, or I see twins, I will tell them, thank God that Christianity came. Otherwise, all of you and your mother would have been dead. You understand? That's the positive aspect of Christianity. Christianity brought development. It brought us to go to school. But the person who is giving you something will always come with something to take advantage of it. So Christianity came, brought a lot of things, and took a lot of other things. Then it's for us, now that we're educated, we now know the difference between the old and the new. It's for find a way of harmonizing. And maybe that is what your channel or whatever is trying to do. Yeah? But I always say, when you are doing it, don't antagonize Christianity. In as much as culture should be promoted, let nobody antagonize Christianity. Let us find a meeting point, because without Christianity we can't be sitting like this. You understand? But we should find a way of letting the Christians also know that this thing should not die, because if it dies, it's our history that is dying. You can imagine a generation that will come up, they won't know about Akatakwa. Your generation won't know what Omabe is. You will just hear about it. But in my age, when the day they will do Omabe, everybody who is connected with Omabe will sit down and be praying, so that their relation who is going to do Omabe will come back alive. That is the thing. If you are not clean, you go there, you will not come back alive. So, but when you go and come back, you feel like a hero. All those things are dying. So, the culture is good, but we must find a way of tackling the diabolic aspect of it. Because we can't do away with culture. Because if you do away with culture, you are doing away with your history. If you go to Europe, if you go to Germany, if you go, look, in 1995 I was in Thailand. There are certain places we will go. I'll be seeing something like rituals or all those things. They will just whisper, just go there, just go there. They will come and bend down to the thing. And it's not a cross, it's not a church. That is their own. You understand? But because of the level of awareness in our own, where whenever Christians come, they say they are trying to kill culture. Yes, they are trying to kill the diabolic aspect of culture, which must be killed if we are to make progress. If you go to families that have lost loved ones, that the whole family are perishing because of how they are handling their culture. Their forefathers might be Atamama, for instance. They may not know the commitment. They may not know the commitment done to that ritual. Children will grow up and go and dabble into it without knowing the commitment. There's a shrine. I'm from Ada. There's a shrine in Ada. In the olden days, no other person can go anywhere and die on the way. And that shrine, when they made it, they always, every year they will sacrifice human being on it. Human being. That is what it demands. You must bring human being, kill human being as a way of strengthening it. But when Christianity came, of course, killing human being now became an offense. You understand? So, what the atama of that thing, for his head not to go into it, the year when it's time to bring a human being to do that, he will take blood and blood and use his blood and do that. You understand? But even at that, the strength of that started going down. You understand? So this Akatapa we are doing today, the biggest Akatapa masquerade from Obollo is Ukude from Ada. Ukude at times when we were growing up, if Ukude decide, if he's passing and they decide to enter your house, it's like Pope, not Bishop. It's like Pope coming to your house. A lot of people will lie down for the Ukude to march on them, and if you were suffering some ailment, you get cured. It was happening. It was not just a miracle, but it was happening.
You witness it.
Yeah, it was happening, and every woman will do palm oil and want to. It's not compulsory, but you want to go and give. You go to go and give Ukude because it's a blessing. It's not like what they will tell you in the church. Come and do tithe because it will bring you a blessing. You understand? You are doing the tithe to a human being, but to you are doing it to God. You understand? The same thing. A lot of women will prepare oil and say, look, this gallon is for Ukude. You go and drop it for Ukude. Because he had powers then. That is the strength of culture. Today, Ukude is weak. This Obollo-Afor that you are seeing like this, there was a time Oba and Obollo were fighting over this market. Oba will not allow Obollo market to survive. Obollo will not. So the thing was a serious clash. You bossa like this, if you just drop things for marketing, bees. No, rain. If it's rain, they will find umbrella. Bees will come and scatter everybody. It was this Ukude. When they tried all the shrines, all the juju, it was this Ukude who had prepared and came and installed this market. Since then, nothing that big cannot fly around that market. So you see the power they used it for, positive power. You understand? At that time, because they don't have an army, they don't have a DPO, they don't have any. That is their own. They have. So ritual fight is you quench it with another ritual fight. So that is how this market started standing. When you could then comes out to the way you were hearing the Omerodo. Before the Obollo-Afor and the Ikem fight, all the masquerade used to be the biggest, the strongest masquerade in the Nsukka area. Ikemu people. But part of Parigo, a lot of other Obollo-Afor sides belong to Ikemu. Is those Ukuden that went and defeated the Odo and now claimed all those places. That is why you say Omerodo. When you say Omerodo, you know that Kodo must be something special. So when you have all this background, it can guide you very well. But the truth is that there are some diabolical aspects of that is not conducive for now. You understand? If you go to the people in charge of those masquerades, they are not making progress the way their names were. All the big herbalists of those days, go to their homes now, you will find it difficult to get somebody who had done real breakthrough. By that time, they were the everything. The only a good herbalist is like somebody who having a general in their family. If you do anything, they will call soldiers to come and wipe you. That's how they were then. But gradually, development is going. The power of their Sharan is going down. And as it's going down, but now, when you hear that youths are going back to culture, they're claiming it's going back to culture, it's not culture they're going back to, it's that diabolical aspect. And they cannot generate the power, the same power of that time. Why? Because they're not only they're doing the wrong way, the moral level at that time, you cannot, the minimum you can do in your life, you don't have to wait for somebody. You can't just something evil. Moral life was very high. But now you see young boys who are committing all kinds of crime. They want to go and do rituals and do the defending culture. You can never have that power. Because before, only Watamama can never get involved in a medicine that will injure somebody. Because that Shiran will kill you. But today, people are doing evil and going to certain people to do evil to them and they expect to get that power. You don't have that power. So these are the areas. Culture is the strength of unity. Very good. The strength of development. It helps you to understand who you are and why you are behaving the way you are behaving. And Elgwiske person behave differently from Obollo person because of different background. They are all on Nsukka, but they are different. When I was growing up, my parents would tell me that if you come to Obollo-Afor like this and see where Obollo person and Elgwiske person is fighting, go and trace it. It's the Obollo person that will find trouble. That Elgwiske cannot find trouble. But when you find their trouble, you collect. So these are perception we grow up, and that is the way they are. You understand? Elgwiske also have more diabolical things because of their background also than a place like Obollo. I heard people discussing about Amala in terms of diabolical things. It's also stronger than Obollo. Obollo is more like the civilized of the old. Everybody was all behaving anyhow, that kind of a thing. So culture is good. Culture should be encouraged, but the diabolical aspects should be contained. And that is the mix-up between them and the church, which, as one of the leaders of Obollo, where this matter had come up, we have proposed all the priests from Obollo to hold a meeting with Obollo leaders so that we find a meeting point. Culture must not die, and Christianity will not die, but there must be a meeting point between the two. Yeah.